So this is the second part for homework 5, question 6 to question 10. So question 6, we have a table, quantity demanded. This is basically a demand curve, and this is quantity supplied, right? With price and quantity supplied, you have a supply curve. And if we look at where the quantity demanded equal to quantity supplied, you basically have a market price of 75 cents, then the market is in equilibrium. So this is the market for soda. If the government imposes a price ceiling of 50 cents per can of soda, there will be what? So instead of 75 cents for the market price, the government lowered the price, right? Mandated the price to be below the equilibrium price to 50 cents. Then what we have? We have quantity demanded. What people want? 10 cans. How much the producer would like to supply? 7 cans. So there is what? A shortage because people want more than what the market can supply. Okay? And the difference is how much? 10 minus 7. Okay, that's question 6. Now question 7. Producers will sometimes lower the quality of a good when the government imposes. Okay, they lower the quality of a good. We just talked about lower the quality of the apartments. Why they can do that? Because if it is a binding price ceiling, okay, you have this demand, you have the supply, and then you have a price ceiling below the equilibrium price. Okay? In this case, what's going on is people want more than what is available. So the sellers are at an advantage in the market. It's so-called a seller's market. The sellers are really happy, and the buyer need to beg the sellers to give them the product. In this case, we are talking about apartments. Please let me rent this apartment from you, right? So when there's a binding price ceiling, the landlord doesn't worry about nobody will take his or her apartment. Then what they do, they do not have to pay the high cost of maintenance, because if they will be willing if they can raise the price, right, to cover their extra cost. But if they cannot raise the price to the equilibrium level, there will always be some people who try to just get into the apartment, ignore any low quality, right, or the bad condition, lack of maintenance in the apartment. So that is why when there's a price ceiling, the quality of the product in the market tends to be low because it's a seller's market. The sellers have a say on what they want to do. The buyers don't have advantage. Any price control, if it's not binding, right? If the price ceiling, which should be below, when binding, should be below the equilibrium price. If the price ceiling is above the equilibrium price and it's not binding, it doesn't really affect the market outcome. An excise tax, that is for next chapter, but what's going on there is actually when there is excess tax, both parties are still conducting mutually beneficial willing transactions, right? And it's just that the government, right, take part of the surplus away for the transaction occurs in the market. Okay, if that transaction occurs in the market, then the government take a piece of it. But the two parties are still kind of in a arm's length relationship. Okay, it's not a buyer's market or seller's market. There is no this shortage going on. No shortage going on. So, the sellers cannot just easily lower their quality, then the buyers can go to other places to buy, right? But in a binding price ceiling market, there is a shortage. So again, the sellers has an advantage. Okay, if it is a binding price floor, right, a price floor above the equilibrium price, what's gonna happen is people supply more. Okay, the sellers supply more, but the buyers, they don't want that much. The whole result is you have a surplus, and then it's a buyer's market. The buyer has a say about what to provide, which provider they would like to buy from, and the sellers, right, on this supply curve, they need to compete to get the buyers into their door, right, to take their offer. Um, the result is that, if it's a binding price floor, the sellers will produce excess quality. Okay, when there's a price floor, used to be many years ago, a long time ago. Okay, there's a price floor on transatlantic airline tickets. They cannot lower the price to a certain level, so they have piano bars on the transatlantic flights, something like that. It's just make it extra luxury so that the buyers feel that the service they receive on the airplane worth the money, right? Now the flight market, right, the air travel market is a kind of cutthroat competition, and the supplier need to cut cost, so they charge a lot of extras and give you very tiny leg room. A flight travel is nearly several hours of torture, right? Think about it. If you're tall enough, and if you don't want to pay the higher price, you have to squeeze yourself into a tiny space and crawl there. Horrible. Anyway, um, so maybe there should be some kind of price floor for now, right now, for the air travel market. Okay, that's question 7. Let's look at question 8. Price ceiling will impose costs on society because they do what? Well, price ceiling will eliminate the long waiting lines. The long waiting lines is because of shortage. Okay, not enough supply, so people get up early, right? Wait in the lines to get just like Thanksgiving, but I no longer care. There are people who go do that kind of things, right? Because anyway, Thanksgiving you don't really get the good products. It's just regular products with a really low price. No, the price is not so low, but the product is not really good. So anyway, but the people wait in long lines, right? So that is what will happen. All right, if you have effective price ceiling, it will not eliminate long waiting lines. It will generate long waiting lines. B, may result in black markets where prices are lower than the market determined the price would be. Okay, in those kind of underground market, what's gonna happen is the price is higher, not lower. Okay, in the underground market, people will transact at the market price. If you have effective price ceiling, the binding price ceiling is below the equilibrium price, and in the underground market, right, people disregard the law and raise the price to the equilibrium price. That's the idea. Okay, C, lead to a smaller quantity offered on the market. That is what we've been talking about, right? Because price is low, the suppliers cannot cover extra cost if they want to provide extra quantity into the market, so they reduce what they offer into the market. D, help businesses instead of consumers. Price ceiling, frankly, helps nobody. It just helps the politicians who want to brag about their achievements. In fact, it makes everybody in the market worse off. Okay, um, this is just what we learn from rent-controlled markets. You can read many interesting cases in in the textbook, or there's a supplemental videos I provided in Blackboard you can watch. Let's look at question 9. The United States and the European Union impose price floors on many agricultural products. So again, let's think about the price floor. You have a supply, you have a demand, and then you have a binding price floor. That's my binding price floor. Okay, let's say that is flat. These price floors lead to unwanted surpluses. To deal with a surplus, okay, what does the government need to do? The US government typically pays farmers to produce as much as possible. Now, what does the US government typically do? They actually pay the farmers not to produce. Okay. B, the US government in some cases has destroyed the surplus production. Please read the textbook. That is part of the solution. Okay, you have to destroy the excess in order to maintain the market price. Prevent the price from falling, right? The farmers don't want to have extra produce in their storage. The produce can perish, so they try to find a buyer. And if those products go to the market, that necessarily what drive down the price, right? Drive the market, drive the price from price floor to the equilibrium level. Okay, C, the European Union pays farm exporters to sell products for a profit overseas. Not really for a profit, but they do pay the exporters, okay, to ask them to sell the products overseas, right? But these exporters initially paid a high price within the European Union, so they must get a refund. So not necessarily for a profit. D, the US government holds auctions to sell the surplus to the highest bidder. Well, if you sell, again, you bring this excess produce, okay, extra supply into the market, then you will bring down the market price. Auction itself is a market price. Let's say it's a market price discovery mechanism. Okay, auction itself. So if you do this option D, right, auction off all the excess supply in the market, you will drive down the price. You won't be able to maintain this price floor, right? Think about it. People know, right? After they buy at the price floor, the government will come in and sold off all the whatever left, right? In an auction, then of course you wait until you go to that auction to get a lower price. Okay, that's question 9. Question 10. Look at this picture. A binding price floor is represented by, we talked about this one. The binding price floor must be above, okay, it must be above this equilibrium price level, which is P2 here, okay, because only when the price is above the equilibrium price, there is a tendency for the price to fall. Okay, there's a tendency for the price to fall. Otherwise, if it's below the equilibrium price, the tendency is for the price to increase. So only when the price is falling, right, you can stop the falling with a floor. Right? Stop it with a floor. Think about a ball, right? Just a ball, kind of not a very round ball. Anyway, a ball drop onto a floor. A ball drop onto a floor, something like that, right? The ball hit the floor and maybe bounce back a little bit, and then eventually it will stay onto the floor. Let me move this one and make my little pink, not very round ball. Oh, okay. Oh, now it's larger. Okay, fall onto the floor. Alright, you know what I mean. Okay, so it has to be a price level that is higher than the market equilibrium price, higher than this P2, so that you have a binding price floor. Alright, that's the second part for the preview of homework 5.